Shalom ubracha, peace and blessings. This week's Torah reading is Parshas Mispatim. Mispatim are a very specific type of mitzvah. It is a civil commandment. It's a commandment that we understand the reasons for. Lo signov, you shall not steal, certainly falls into that category. The laws with regards to the treatment of slaves, repaying damages, how we deal with the ger toshav, the stranger who lives among us, is certainly clearly mishpatim, are certainly clearly civil laws. There are some others which are not so clearly civil laws that are in fact chukim, they're mitzvot that we don't understand the reason for, that are enumerated in this parsha, and some of those include the dietary codes, they include laws with regards to festivals. In total, there are 53 mitzvot mentioned in this week's Torah reading. Most of them are clearly civil mandates, but not all of them. And it's hard for us to understand why they're intermingled. Rashi asks a question and then makes an observation at the end of this week's Torah reading that may help us understand. The Torah reading begins with saying, V'elah mishpatim, and these are the civil laws. It should actually say, Elah mishpatim, these are. The word and seems to be out of place. Rashi tells us that this word and appears to tell us that these laws, the civil laws, are tied to our experience at Sinai. That's very important because our experience at Sinai is actually an icon or a symbol of our relationship with God. Remember, the Torah describes a very dramatic scene at Sinai, and our tradition deals with it as a wedding between the children of Israel and God. The end of the Parsha continues the narrative of the revelation at Sinai, and Rashi tells us that the placement of the Mishpatim in the middle of this narrative is historically inaccurate, and in examining all of this, we seem to get the message that the Torah is being very intentional about tying together the civil laws and the ritual laws. Now, this is very foreign to us as Americans because we treasure a wall of separation between church and state. And historically, this has been quite good for us. Whenever church and state come together, it's generally not good for the Jews as a minority religion. The Torah, however, was laying out a form of government that was a total integration of church and state with a system of checks and balances. It was a Torah version of perhaps a theocracy rather than a democracy. What is the message from this integration that we could take into our daily lives? We often think about our religious life and our secular life as being separate. The way that we interact with people socially or in business, we seem to feel is governed not by our religious slants or our religious convictions, but they're governed by social normative practices and law. The integration of mishpatim, of civil laws, into the religious laws and also into the Sinai narrative remind us that we need to bring the high moral and ethical teachings of the Torah into our interactions with each other and thereby elevate them into interactions. We show the ultimate respect to God and our relationship with God by showing respect to each other. It is for this reason that the Mispatim are woven into, the civil laws are woven into the icon of our relationship with God, the covenant and the revelation that is represented by Sinai. Shabbat Shalom. May the spirit of Shabbat bring warmth into your heart, into your homes. May the spirit of Mishpatim interwoven with Sinai elevate the relationships that you have with each other and bring them into the relationship that you have with God. Shabbat Shalom.